Hello, morning everybody. How are we doing? So, good morning, welcome to day 2 of National University Week. It is so brilliant to have you here and have so many in the room already. That's amazing. So, we've got a lot of questions, I'm sure, and I think they're all going to be answered today by Georgie Bracken from the University of Plymouth. So for those of you who don't know me, my name's Heather. I'm from CareerMap. I'm going to be the host for today. Before I hand over to Georgie, who's going to be talking to you about everything to do with applying and going to university and studying in the region, I should just do some housekeeping for you, just to let you know that if you've got any questions, and I'm sure you will have, just ask them in the chat box, which you'll find at the right-hand side of your screen. What we'll do is I'll be collating them in the background while George is presenting, and then we'll do a Q&A at the end of the session. The session is being recorded, so don't worry about missing anything. It will be emailed to you probably next week, because there's a lot to get through. But yeah, it will be with you for reference, with any kind of URLs and email addresses that Georgie supplies within there as well, to kind of find out more. Oh my goodness, I've just seen the chat. There's so many of you. Lisa, good morning. What a lively bunch. So anyway, enough about that and enough about me. I think it's my cue to tune out and join you for the Q&A.
Morning everyone, my name is Georgie and I'm a Schools and Colleges Engagement Officer at the University of Plymouth. I'm based in London, so I work a lot with schools in London and the East region and also the home counties. So that might apply to some of you guys, it might not. If not, don't worry. I personally went to Reading University, where I did classical studies, which is basically the study of the Greeks and the Romans. And I graduated back in 2019, so kind of recent. And today I'm going to be talking to you guys a little bit about the Southwest, about student life, particularly at Plymouth. And then we're going to go through how to choose the right university and the right course for you guys. And then for those of you who are familiar or who aren't familiar, we're going to do like a little brief introduction to the UCAS website. So we're going to jump right in. As I've said, we're going to be going through kind of those 4 main topics. And if you have any questions about any of the bits, then obviously feel free to put questions in the chat and I'll be able to answer them towards the end. If you guys see a slide that you like the look of as well, you're more than welcome to take a picture of it if you find it helpful, or if you want me to go back to any slides at the end as well, you just let me know. So in terms of the Southwest, as I mentioned, I kind of look primarily after London and the East and the home counties region. So quite often I get a lot of students asking me where Plymouth is, where's Devon, and I tell them, well, it's in the Southwest region. Plymouth is the largest city in Devon, and Devon is one of the counties in the Southwest. So on the screen at the moment, you guys will be able to see all the counties. So we've got Bristol, Somerset, Devon, Cornwall, Gloucestershire, Wiltshire, and Dorset. So those are the kind of counties that make up the Southwest region. In terms of the universities, a lot of universities are in the Southwest region. So obviously we've got the University of Plymouth, we've got 2 campuses, and we're also one of 3 higher education institutions. So we've got the University of Plymouth, we've got Plymouth College of Art, and then we've also got Plymouth Marjon University as well. So that's 3 unis basically in one city. And then you've also got some other universities. So you guys might be familiar with, University of Bath, Bournemouth Uni, University of Falmouth, Bath Spa, Bristol. So we've got quite a few universities in the region. So typically when I speak to people at events or at schools and colleges, they say, oh yeah, I've been to the Southwest, I've been there on holidays. So that is one of the main draws to the Southwest region. A lot of people go there for tourism. There's lovely beaches, lots of holidays that you can do there with your family and your friends. We've got beautiful countryside and national parks, so we've got Dartmoor and Exmoor. There's also some really well-known festivals, so Glastonbury is in the southwest, Boardmasters, which is in Newquay, and then we've also got a number of really amazing World Heritage sites, such as Stonehenge up in Wiltshire, and then the Roman Bath, which is obviously in the city of Bath. And then you've also got kind of other attractions like the Eden Project in Cornwall. In terms of what it's like to live there, the region is really diverse. You've got a range of kind of rural settings, bigger cities like Bristol, for example. So it really depends on where you'll be living in the southwest to kind of get what it will be like. So like I said, you've got the big multicultural cities to smaller remote seaside villages. This here on screen is just to give you guys a bit of an idea as to a bit of the difference. So in the top left corner, we've got our beautiful modern University of Plymouth campus. We're a campus-based uni, but our university is in the heart of the city centre. So if you're looking for a bit of a kind of best of both worlds combination, then Plymouth might be for you. The photo below our campus is Drake Circus, which is our main shopping centre. We've got Primark, we've got Next, we've got loads of other shops like Boots, we've got Superdrug, M&S, we've got an M&S cafe, so if you're dying to try out the new Colin the Caterpillar frappe, then you can get that there. But if you're more of a nature person, then about 20-minute drive away from Plymouth city centre, we've got Dartmoor National Park, so you can go hiking, you can go camping, you can go for a walk with your dogs. And then we've also got beautiful golden beaches as well. So if you have a look at the bottom corner here, then we've got the beautiful Bovey Sand Beach. So those are kind of pretty much on our doorstep, and that's the beauty of the Southwest and specifically Plymouth. So now I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about student life and what it's like at Plymouth in particular. Obviously, I studied at Reading, so my student life will be a little bit different to what Plymouth is, but there's a lot of similarities that I can tie in. So every university will have their own students' union. Plymouth is no exception. So the students' union is basically a student-run organisation. So it's run for the students by the students, and each students' union will have their own set of support systems in place, their own set of students that are running and are in charge of it. And those are your students' officers. So on the right-hand side of the screen are this year's elected student officers. So we've got our president, and then we've got 3 vice presidents who also focus in their own areas as well. So we've got a vice president and who focuses on activities and sports, a vice president for education, and then vice president for wellbeing and diversity. So all your needs can be covered, and you can go to all these different offices for any kind of things that you might have. And they'll also have a lot of other students in leadership positions beneath them as well. So like I said, you've got a lot of support systems in place. We've got an advice centre, so if you maybe want to have a little bit of help with looking for student housing in your second year, or if you want a bit of advice with, referencing for your assignments, then you can go to the advice centre where staff and students are able to give you any help. We also have a lot of volunteering opportunities as well. So one that you'll find a lot of universities have is a RAG Society, which stands for Raising and Giving, and they do a lot of really fun things. So have you guys, I'm sure you've all seen on Channel 4, there's the programme Hunted, so you have to get as far away from, the start point without being detected or caught. That's something that our volunteering team does. So they do a kind of version of Hunted to see how far you can get without getting kind of, caught or trailed off. And I think the furthest that some of our students got was, I think, Spain. So there's lots of really fun, exciting opportunities for you to get involved with. We do hikes at Kilimanjaro as well to raise money for charity and volunteering. We also have our course reps as well. So those are students who are in place to kind of help with any kind of queries. When I was at uni, we had course reps for each, course that we had, each module, and they reported back to teaching staff. They worked really closely, like I say, with Students' Union to kind of make sure that the students' voices were being heard. So one example that I have, back at uni, some lecturers were taking a little bit of a time to get our marks back to us and feedback. So our course reps went and they implemented a procedure where from 2 weeks of you submitting your assignments, you had to have your feedback kind of received back to you so that you could go on and put that into your next assignment. So that was something that our course reps put in place, and the course reps at Plymouth do very similar things. We also have a buddy scheme, so that's where we'll pair you guys if you're coming to Plymouth or university kind of as a fresher. Then we'll pair you with someone in older years so that you've got a friendly face on campus if you ever need anything. We've also got shops and restaurants on campus, so we've got Portland Square, which does really cool pizzas. We've got Loafers, which sells Starbucks and really gorgeous paninis. And then we've also got our campus shop. We've got cash points on campus as well. So lots of kind of facilities for students to use without having to go off campus and into the city. And then, of course, another side of societies is the sports clubs and different societies that we have available at university. So again, each student union will have a set of these different clubs and societies, and you can find out all the information about those, who runs them, what they do, what kind of clubs they have. We also have something called the Student Hub. So a lot of universities will have, aside from this kind of support system in place in the Students' Union, a lot of support systems in place for students in the university as well. So we have our Student Hub, which I believe some of them are based in our library building. So we've got, for example, health and medical wellbeing, counselling and mental health support. So if you feel you need to utilise any of those systems in place, they're in place to help you when you get to university. Learning disability support, so for example, if you maybe have dyslexia, you can get a bit of extra help. We have a couple of students who have visual impairment, so they have students that kind of take their notes for them to kind of help assist them with their studies, so lots of extra support as well. My sister, she also, so me and my sister both have kind of learning disabilities, and at university we were both given kind of extra support. So my sister was given a ton of free equipment to help her with her studies. She was given a recording device so she could record her lectures and then go back and listen to them. Essay and academic writing. So a lot of you guys might be familiar with writing essays or kind of, you know, longer answers for your courses at the moment. But obviously when you get to university, it's a little bit different. So there's a lot of support for you to be able to go to people if you're unsure about how to do your referencing, or if you just want to get your head around writing the perfect essay. We've also got faith and spirituality. I know up at Plymouth Marjon, they have a support dog who's part of their faith and spirituality system. So a couple of our students have gone up to Plymouth Marjon and taken the dog out for a walk as well to kind of help them with kind of just getting a bit of mindfulness out there. And then also, if you're kind of unsure about budgeting or you want a bit of extra advice with that, we've got support systems in place with those too. As you might be aware, when you come to university, you are known as a fresher. So during your first couple of weeks, you'll have kind of a lot of inductions, but when you arrive to university, you'll likely have Freshers Week. Some universities, it will just be the 1 week. For me at Reading, we had 2 weeks of Freshers, and those are different events that are kind of run. So you've obviously first and foremost got your Freshers Fair. So that will be where you can get a load of freebies if you want to get any part-time work. You can go and sign up to kind of a couple of companies, get a load of freebies, loads of free pizza, loads of free tote bags, free pens. So if that's what you're kind of looking to get your hands on at the beginning of the year, definitely recommend going along. You've also got sports and societies fairs. So we're going to touch on those a little bit more very shortly, but you can go and have a look at the different sports clubs and societies that are available at university, and you can sign up. There's a lot of sessions that they'll run not only during Freshers Week, but also during the year, called Give It a Go sessions. So they're either completely free or heavily discounted. So you can go and try something kind of before you buy it, essentially. So before you sign up to, say, you know, hockey, you can go along to a taster session. We've also got campus market. So this will be, again, something that a lot of universities will do. We bring in a plant man, so you can go and get your plants for your rooms. You can get some posters as well. A lot of students will buy plants and end up having them die within a week, but they'll have those posters for life. So a lot of kind of fun things going on during the markets as well. You'll also find that there are a lot of welcome parties, and these don't just include going on nights out. Quite often your school or department will run welcome parties as well. So when I first joined university, I remember we had a welcome pizza party, and then they sent us on campus on a bit of a treasure hunt, which was quite cool. You also have kind of ones that are run by societies, kind of, you know, come and meet the team, come and meet the students who are running the society. So lots of kind of welcome inductions that you can expect. As I mentioned as well, this will be a lot of time for you to go through inductions for your course, so do make sure that you go along to any of those. NUS, so you guys might already be familiar with NUS, stands for the National Union of Students. They're also referred to as Totem. You can get a student card which enables you to get some really fantastic discounts, not only you know, shopping, but also at food places, like Pizza Express is one that springs to mind. They also do some on travel sometimes, so have an idea. If you guys aren't already able to, if you have a school or college email, you can get access to things like UniBuddy or Student Beans, as well as NUS. And then, like I said, you get loads and loads of freebies. I've still got a ton of freebies that I had from Freshers Week, so that's something that I've kind of kept hold of. In terms of sports and fitness, at the University of Plymouth, we've got a gym on campus. We've also got squash courts. We've got sports classes. So if you want to get involved with those, you can do. I think our membership at the gym is about £12.50 a month. So quite often the student gyms are really good prices, and those include all your classes as well. We've also got the Life Centre, so that's a place, it's not on campus, but it's really close by, and they offer free swimming sessions for students in the evening. So if you want to go along and have a bit of a free swim, you can do that in the Life Centre. We've also got, like I said, the Give It a Go sessions, and they run throughout the year, so you don't have to, you know, if you think, oh, I didn't do it in Freshers Week, or I didn't do it, you know, when I first got to uni, they run throughout the year, so you can always give it a go. We've also got the Mountbatten Water Sports Centre, so that's obviously one of the things being quite close to the sea. We've got a lot of opportunity for students to take part in water sports like sailing, kayaking, paddleboarding, open water swimming. So if you want to get involved with those, you can do that. Intramural sport is kind of like team sport, but on like a semi-professional level, I think. Really good fun. So if you are at that level, you can get involved with those. And then if you are, you know, in the process of doing your Duke of Edinburgh, or you want to do it, you can do that at university as well. So to give you a bit of an idea of the different sports clubs and societies we have on offer at Plymouth, these are some of the ones that we have. So you can see that there are some kind of more common ones like rugby, we've got lacrosse, dance. We also have some more out there ones. So for example, we've got underwater hockey, we've got some more societies. So we've got book club, we've got big band, creative writing, and then we've also got Nerf socks. So literally what it says on the tin, students just go around with their Nerf guns shooting at each other, which is really good fun. And there are totally, you know, thousands more, well, not thousands, but there are quite a few more. And if you find that there is a society that you want to join that isn't on the website, I think all you need are like 10 signatures, and then you can start your own society. So if that is something that appeals to you, you can get involved with that. Every university will have different options for the clubs and societies they have on offer. And like I said, they're all student run as well. So you can always get in contact with the students that are running them through the social media pages. In terms of settling in, obviously moving to university, a lot of you will be moving away from home for the first time. It's a really good idea to get to know your housemates, even if you're not going to be mates with them for the entire time. It's still nice to kind of get to know them because you're going to be living with them for about a year or so. Sometimes I lived with my housemates kind of for, I think, 2 out of my 3 years, and then I went back into halls for my final year where I made some new housemate friends, and I'm still really good mates with all of them now. So you can find your housemates and flatmates on social media. Before you move into halls, you'll have all your flat details sent to you, and you can find them through Facebook messages and groups, so that you meet them before you can kind of move in. It's also a good idea for you to explore the campus and the city. So have a look around, you know, see what the shopping centre's saying, see what, you know, the like local clubs are saying, if that's something you're interested in. Have a look around campus, get to know where the buildings are, familiarise yourself with the library. So make sure that you kind of get to know the city that you're going to be living in. You can as well personalise your room and make it your own. Obviously, you've got to be mindful of any kind of, contractual agreements. So some, will say no blue tack on the walls. Some will say, no plug-in fairy lights, battery operated only for health and safety. So, you can make it your own, but obviously make sure that you're kind of sticking within the contractual agreements of your accommodation. Something really important, and it might sound really silly and self-explanatory, but make sure to prioritise your health and well-being. Obviously, coming to university is a really big step in your journey, so make sure that you're taking care of yourself and kind of prioritising, signing up to the GP when you first arrive at uni, checking in and going to any counselling or wellbeing services if you need them throughout the year. And also try to get a bit of practice on your time management skills whilst you're in college or at sixth form. That will really help when it comes to moving on to university life, because it obviously is a big transition. So, like I said, this ties into the time management. So a lot of the time that you'll be doing at university, whilst you'll have, set hours that you'll be in lectures or seminars or practicals or labs, depending on your course, there will also be a lot of time where you're focusing and expecting to do a little bit of independent study. So make sure that you're kind of taking time to practice that. You've also got a lot of time as well for you to do clubs and societies. So quite a lot of the time at university, Wednesday afternoons are kind of completely written off so that you can go and do sports, any kind of other extracurricular activities. And this tends to be kind of across the board with universities. This is because you guys might have heard of it before, you might not have. Something called Bucks. They basically kind of run loads of sports competitions throughout different universities. So a lot of the time, Wednesday afternoons, you might have, hockey against Exeter Uni, for example. So you've got the afternoon for sports. Some students tend to get a part-time job. When I was at university, I had 3 part-time jobs, purely because in my final year, I had 3 hours on a Monday and that was it. Obviously, I was doing clubs and societies in my own time. I was doing my 3 part-time jobs, and I was also doing my independent study as well. So make sure that you're kind of balancing it. Any volunteering that you want to do, obviously a lot of students will love to go shopping. I personally loved going into town and going for a little nose around Primark, or just going into town and having a look around and doing a bit of a window shop. Students as well will also go to the gym. They'll do a lot of social activities. So you can always factor those into your, time planning as well. So when it comes to choosing a university course, there's quite a few things that you have to take into consideration. So first of all, most important thing is what kind of degree you want to do. So there are some different ones that we've got on the screen here. So what we're going to do is we're going to skip the first one for now, and we're going to look at the honours degree. So this is your kind of typical undergraduate degree. These are typically around 3 years, and depending on the words, basically the letters that come after it will determine the type of degree that you get. So a BSc is a Bachelor of Science, a BA is a Bachelor of Arts, a BEng is a Bachelor of Engineering, and then a BM is Bachelor of Medicine. We've also got something called a foundation degree. So this is for students who maybe want to get a bit more knowledge before going into their degree subject. They perhaps maybe have done, say, for example, you want to do marine biology and you've done, English, geography, and French as your A-level subjects. Those obviously don't match what we'd expect for our marine biology course. So you can do a foundation degree where you'll cover the kind of basics going into that degree course. So you'll do your foundation degree, which is year 0 or stage 0. And then from there, upon successful completion of your foundation year, you can then proceed on into the honours degree, which is the BSc in marine biology. Some universities also have something called a fast track degree. So I think the one that we have it in is business management at the moment. And that's basically a much more condensed version of the degree. So you get a little bit less holiday time, but you get the degree done quicker. So for our business management, it's 2 years in total instead of the classic 3-year degree. There's something called a sandwich degree, which isn't as exciting as it sounds. So essentially what it is there's no sandwiches involved. What happens is you'll do your first and your second year as normal, and then instead of going straight into your final year, you'll take a year out in between and go and work on placement or in industry. Then once you've finished your placement or industry year, you'll come back into your final year, which will be done as your 4th year. So it's a 4-year degree where you have a placement intertwined in the middle of it. Some degrees have masters in it. So a couple of our psychology degrees, for example, are combined masters. So those are integrated in, you come out at the end of it with a higher qualification. There are obviously some specialist degrees, such as nursing, teaching, architecture, medicine, for example. So those are kind of degrees that you need to do the subject in order to go into the career path. And then you have non-specialist degrees as well. So, for example, geography, biology, English. My degree in classical studies was a non-specialist degree. The current job role that I'm in, I needed to have a degree, but it didn't need to be, obviously related to what I do. So have a look at what, jobs and careers you want to go into, because sometimes they do require a degree. But essentially, there is something for everyone. So there are over 50,000 higher education courses in the UK. So that's a lot of option, a lot of choice. And when it comes to UCAS, you'll be making up to 5 different choices. So narrowing 5 choices down from over 50,000 can be a bit of a mammoth task. But as long as you kind of have a bit of an idea as to what you want to do, kind of the content, we're going to go through that a bit more as well, which will help you make your decision. And there are around 395 higher education institutes in the UK as well. So essentially, I'm sure when you guys were looking at sixth forms or college, you probably had, a select few in your area that you had to think about and, decide between. That when it comes to university, you've got so much more choice. So you do have to kind of think about different things that you're looking for in particular. And if you are doing BTECs, universities, around 95% of universities do accept BTECs for entry, and that's for over 70% of degree subjects. So if you're thinking, I'm doing a BTEC, I'm not sure if I can go to uni, you absolutely can. If you're doing an extended project as well, those are also accepted by a lot of universities, including us at Plymouth. So on the screen here, this is what we usually get students to kind of shout out what they think is a degree and what is not. So ballistic engineering is unfortunately not a degree. Viking and Old Norse studies is a degree as well. International football business is a degree. Viticulture and oenology is the making of wine, and that's a degree as well. Plumbing, unfortunately, is not a degree. If you want to go into plumbing, typically you'll tend to do an apprenticeship and go through it that way. Comedy writing and performance is a degree course. Perfumery, unfortunately, is not. And then popular music is. So that's just to give you guys a bit of an idea as to kind of the different specialisms and kind of specifics that you can go into. So whilst there's a whole load of choice of course options, you can get really specific ones like some of the ones on screen here. So when it comes to choosing a course, make sure that you're considering the entry requirements. So try to have a bit of a mixture. So for example, don't pick, subjects that all have the same entry requirements. Pick a couple that have a few lower entry requirements, just to have in case, as a bit of a backup, just in case things don't go the way you expect. Have a look at the modules and the optional modules that are on offer and that are going to be taught. So for example, English at the University of Plymouth is going to be completely different to English at the University of Reading. And that's because unlike the schools and colleges you guys attend, the curriculum and teaching material is decided by the teaching staff rather than the government. So depending on, the specialism research that those lecturers and academic staff are doing will kind of reflect what modules and optional modules are on offer. So for example, we've got someone who specialises in Jane Austen. So there's an entire module on Jane Austen and focusing on her literature, whereas that might not be an optional module at Reading, for example. Have a look at the assessments. So how each course is going to be assessed will obviously vary depending on what degree you're doing. But if you don't like exams, you can do a completely exam-free course. So for example, our teaching course at the University of Plymouth is completely exam-free. It's only assessed on your coursework and your placement. But with me, my degree, I had a bit of a mixture. So my first and second years, I had a mixture of exams and coursework, and then in my final year I just had completely coursework, and that was because I chose modules that were only coursework assessed. So you've got a bit of flexibility there, but have a look at how they're assessed. Each university will give that information on their website. If you've got any employment prospects, so for example, like I said, my job role needed a degree. It didn't have to be a specialism degree. Whereas if you wanted to go into, say, teaching, you do have to have a degree in teaching to be able to go into that career path. Look at courses and their accreditations. So for example, if you want to go into psychology or into architecture, doing an accredited course helps with you being basically qualified and specialised to be able to practice that once you've finished your degree. So have a look at accreditations and the courses that offer those. If you are interested in doing a placement, have a look at courses that give you the option to do a placement. Some courses you can sign up to and decide to do a placement kind of halfway through. Or if you decide, okay, I'm starting off and I'm doing, say business management with a placement year, and then you decide not to do a placement year, check that your course has the flexibility that you can kind of pull out the placement side of things. You also want to have a look at the teaching methods. So for example, if you're going to be spending a lot of time in labs, practicals, in lectures, seminars, so have a look at the different kind of styles of teaching and how those are going to be delivered. Any kind of personal interests that you have are obviously really, really important. You don't want to be doing a degree that you have absolutely no interest in, because it's a lot of time and money that you're going to be putting into it. So you want to make sure that it's something that you're interested in. So how should you choose a university? So it's really important to think about the location. So I touched on Plymouth being a campus-based university in the heart of the city. So we've kind of got a bit of a best of both worlds situation. But you do want to have a think about if it's going to be a city campus. So if you need to travel across the city to get to lectures or seminars, or if you want a campus where everything's on one site and you don't have to get the bus or the tube, for example. Distance from home. So on average, students tend to move around 2 hours, 2.5 hours away from home. For me, I'm based in London, so Reading was only about half an hour away by train. So I felt like I was kind of far away enough from home to be doing university properly, but also close enough to go home if I fancied a roast dinner on a Sunday and I didn't want to cook it myself. So have a think about how close you want to be from home. Some students will want to be close to home, and that's completely fine. Others will want to be completely far away. So have a think about which is, best for you and what you want. Obviously, really important that it has the right course. You want to make sure that you're studying at a university that has the subject that you're interested in and has the right course for you. If the campus is nice, so, go along to an open day, have a look at the facilities, have a look at, the students on campus, have a look at the buildings, you want to go and make sure that the place you're going to be studying is going to be a nice place for you to spend the next 3 or 4 years. So make sure that you are attending open days and you kind of have a bit of an idea as to whether you like the campus or not. What kind of facilities they have. So one of the things that made me choose Reading was they had their own museum on campus. So I got to do a module in my second year where I actually got to handle artifacts from ancient Greece and got to study those. So that was something that really kind of facilitated my choice, because that was a really fantastic facility that other universities I looked at didn't have. Having a look at the reputation as well is really important. So some of you guys might be, have your heart set on a Russell Group university. Some of you guys might have your heart set, on the top 5 universities. That's fantastic, but do have a look at the kind of other areas of reputation. So the university will not only be ranked at its overall kind of ranking, there'll be a number of other factors. So for example, another thing that helped me choose Reading was, at the time, it was in the, I think, top 20 universities for my subject area. So that really influenced my choice. So have a look at kind of, student satisfaction, where your course ranks, what the campus is like, and that you can find that information through The Guardian. You can find it through THE league tables. Just type in, your university you're interested in, league tables, and you can find the different ones. The clubs and societies that it has. So like I said earlier, you can find all that information on their student union website. What kind of atmosphere it has. Again, you'll be able to figure this out if you go along to an open day. That's kind of obviously an accurate representation, as it's a university on a proper working day. So you can have a bit of a feel as to whether you like the atmosphere, if you like the vibe. And also the accommodation. So you want to make sure that the accommodation offers, they have, meet your flexibility in price ranges. You want to make sure that they have, you know, nice rooms and facilities for you guys. So again, going along to accommodation tours on open days is a really good way to do that. Some students will have made YouTube vlogs of their accommodation. Some of them will have online tours as well on their website, so do have a look at those. So these are the 5 things that students wish they considered, and this is from the university.which.co.uk. So number one thing is the number of scheduled teaching hours. So depending on what course you do, you might find yourself in lectures or seminars ranging from 15 hours a week all the way up to about 25, 26. And obviously, as you go through each year of study, those will start to decline because you're expected to do a lot more independent study. So have a look at those. The demographic of people who go there, so looking at, the genders, the race, the demographics of people who are attending the university, that's something that the students also wish they'd looked at. The learning style and assessment, so again, touching on, if you want to be completely exam-free or exam-assessed or a bit of both. If you want a bit of practical elements thrown into your course, having a look at the kind of different learning and assessment styles on offer. The financial support as well that the university will have in place for students. So if you want to find out more information, simply go onto the university you're interested in, type in finance, money, learning, fund support, and it will bring you a lot more information about the specifics that they offer. And then, of course, the degree classes awarded. So some universities, for example, a business management course will be a Bachelor of Science, some it will be a Bachelor of Arts. So have a look to make sure that you're going into the right kind of bachelor degree that you want to go into. And like I said, you can find that information as well on our website and other university websites. So in terms of research that you can do, you can order a prospectus. So those are completely free. They're basically a massive A to Z guide of the university with all the subjects, the entry requirements, every kind of thing that you want to find out about the university you can get in the prospectus. You can order those to be sent to you in the post, or you can order a digital copy if that's what you prefer. And like I said, they're completely free as well. If you guys aren't already, make sure that you have signed up to at least one UCAS fair. Sometimes your school or college will have their own HE fairs where universities will come in and have stands, so you can talk to them there. But make sure to kind of get 1 or 2 of those under your belt as well. Attending open days is a really good way to kind of find out, what a university is like. Even if you go to a university and you absolutely hate it, it's not a complete waste of the trip because that helps you define what you really don't want. So definitely have a look at attending at least 2 or 3 open days so that you can accurately compare. Internet, obviously, if you're able to access the internet at home or at school, you can do your research through there. Like I said, you can find league tables really, really easily. So have a look at the kind of different information, the university websites, etc. So in terms of UCAS, some of you guys might already be quite familiar with it. Some of you maybe not so much, but that's completely fine. So this is kind of what you'll expect to see when you go onto the UCAS course search page. So it will give you the search bar. So let's say, for example, we choose English. It will then give you an A to Z list of all the subjects. And it will give you kind of the information as well. So the circle here is the UCAS points that are kind of required to get into the course. So for example, 120 UCAS points is equivalent to 3 Bs at A level. So have a look at your kind of grades, your predicted grades, and kind of work them out using the UCAS points converter, and you can find that information out as well. So let's say we click on English, it will then give you all the different courses that university has relating to that subject. So at the University of Plymouth, we have 14 different courses that relate to English. So that includes our classic English degree, which is the BA Bachelor of Arts, which is 3 years. It's a full-time course. We also have the English degree with a foundation year. So again, the 4 years. And then we also have some of our joint honours. So for example, if you wanted to do English with history, that's one of the courses that we have on offer as well. Then if you click onto the subject that you're interested in, it will bring you to this sort of page. So you'll get a bit of a summary about what the course covers, the content. You can also find out what modules they have on offer, what kind of research areas they kind of specialise in. So again, that helps you kind of link to module choice and choosing a course. How to apply, obviously you'll do this through UCAS, so it will give you a bit more information about how to do that. The entry requirements, so it will include the UCAS points if they look at your GCSEs. Some courses like teaching or nursing will require extra requirements such as a DBS and background check, so just have a look to make sure that you're kind of doing all those. Fees and funding, so you can find out information about those. It'll also give you a bit of extra info about student finance and how you can go about applying for it. And then also some provider information. So for example, we've got the TEF Silver Award, which is the Teaching Excellence Framework. If your course is accredited, so for example, our psychology course, accredited by the BPS, British Psychological Society, that'll be all there in the course summary as well. In terms of websites that you guys can use, the Student Room is a kind of forum where a lot of kind of students and staff post about different aspects of university life. This is where as well, if you wanted to meet people who are going into the university that you're choosing or applying to in the same year, you can find people through there. You can also kind of, you know, submit questions and get them answered by current staff and students. And there's also information on there about UCAS, student finance, etc. Discover Uni is really fantastic as well. So this is where you can compare universities. It helps you decide which university is right for you. You can compare the courses. So if you're looking for a course that say has a BA instead of a BSc, so for example, you know, our business management course, you can kind of compare them, compare the entry requirements, compare whether they've got placement opportunities, study opportunities, etc. So have a look at this website. It's really, really fantastic. In terms of summary for getting it right, so definitely start having a think now. Even if it's something that you kind of think about really briefly, it's always good to start thinking about it. Consider what your academic interests are. So if you're doing something in your A-levels or BTECs that you really, really enjoy and you want to carry it on, obviously consider that. If you're finding, actually, I'm not enjoying it as much as I thought, have a look at the options available for you. So for example, if you want to go into something different, have a look and see if you can do a foundation year in those subject areas. Choose the subject that you're passionate about, so making sure that you are studying at a university and a subject that you know you're really interested in, because at the end of the day, it's going to be you that's doing the degree. Make sure that you're doing your research. So again, this is something that you can do pretty much from now until you decide which university you want to apply to. Visit at least 3 universities on open days. So opendays.com lists all the university open days. So if you're kind of unsure about which ones to go to, then you can go along to that. One thing that I did was I had no interest in going to any London university at all, but I did go along to a couple of open days just so I could compare. They were super easy to get to, literally on my doorstep. So I was like, okay, at least I have this and I can compare it. So if you do have a university local to you, go along to the open day. It's free and you can compare it to universities, so you've got a bit of an idea. And then choose courses with a range of entry requirements, so making sure that you've got a bit of flexibility and making decisions that are right for you. So whilst your parents might have, you know, some influence, or your friends, make sure that ultimately the decision you make is based on your own best interests, because like I said, you're going to be the one that's doing the degree. If you are interested in coming down to Plymouth and having a look at the campus, we have a couple of open days coming up. So our next open day is the 22nd of June. And then we have an open day on the 1st of October, Saturday the 29th of October, and then Saturday the 19th of October. A lot of universities will have their open day dates up as well, so you can always find this information. If for any reason you guys are unable to attend open days that universities are running, just drop their university an email and just say, look, I'm really interested in coming to see your university, but I can't make your open day. Can you get me down to campus? And quite often they'll be able to arrange for you to come down on a date that works for you, so that you can meet the relevant academics, go and have a look at the facilities that you're interested in. But that's it from me this morning. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to pop them in the chat and I'll be able to answer them for you.
I'll turn my microphone on. I said you wouldn't have had the chance to see the chat, but it's been crazy. So I've got loads of questions for you.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So what I'll do is I will start from the beginning and I'll just work down in terms of the order they were asked. Right then. So Fern said, how many students study at Plymouth?
So Plymouth, we're like a medium-sized university. So I think we've got, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I want to say it's at least 24,000. I'll have a quick Google actually. But we're a medium-sized university, so different university will be different sizes. So I think Manchester's the biggest size university, and I think they've got 50,000 plus students. So again, if that's something that's important to you, looking at the size of the university, then you can find that information out on the internet. Sorry, I'm trying to multitask, it's not working. So we've got around 21,000 students and a further 16,000 students studying degrees at our partner universities and colleges. So we work with a lot of local colleges in the southwest where you can do degrees there. So for example, some of our nursing we actually do in Exeter, we do in Truro, and we also do in Plymouth. So a few different campuses across the kind of southwest region. So a lot of universities will have something similar, and that will all be in the prospectus as well.
Brilliant. Somebody actually did ask towards the end of the chat, actually, where can they find your prospectus?
So if you go onto our website, or just go onto Google and type in University of Plymouth prospectus, it will then bring you the first page, which is where you click on, and it will say, you know, request a prospectus. Just pop your details in and you can choose whether you want a physical copy sent to your door or a digital copy. Obviously, if you want a digital copy, that'll be sent pretty much straight away to you. If you want a physical copy, that will be sent, you know, in the next couple of days. But you can do that again with any university. Also, if you go along to any HE fairs or UCAS fairs, you can pick up copies of the prospectuses as well there.
Wonderful, that's very helpful. Charlotte said, do you have good links to employers?
Yes.
Yeah, and also, sorry, Matt said, do you have a career service?
Yes, so every university will have their own career service and links to employers. So with the University of Plymouth, we have a career service that is available to current students and also students that have graduated. So a lot of universities tend to offer kind of career support to students for maybe 2 or 3 years after they've graduated. Whereas the University of Plymouth, we offer it for life. So you could be, you know, 40 and come back and say, oh, actually, would you mind, you know, having a look over my CV? I'm going for this new job in this career. And they'll be able to have a look over it for you. We also do things like interview prep and advice. If you do decide to do a placement, you've basically got a few options available to you through, you know, lecturers and seminar and academic tutors' own connections. But primarily, if you're doing a placement year, if there's a particular company that you like the look of, or industry you want to go into, basically you apply for it and the university helps you throughout the application process. So there'll be workshops about how to start your application, how to approach companies that you're interested in working with, you know, deciding if a placement's right for you or not, and kind of, you know, interview prep and things as you go through the process as well.
Wonderful, very helpful. Marnie said, in terms of study, is it face-to-face or online or a mixture?
So as far as I'm aware, pretty much I'd say about 90% of our courses have gone back to face-to-face study. I think there's 1 or 2 that still have virtual elements, but from my understanding, what we've gone back to is the face-to-face learning with maybe like the odd occasional kind of virtual element. And like I said, that's only for like a handful of courses. Obviously, each university is different. So some universities are kind of, you know, still doing a bit of a hybrid blend. Some are still kind of doing, you know, face-to-face. But as far as I'm aware, Plymouth specifically have mostly gone back to face-to-face.
Wonderful. Priya asked, would I need an interview for university? And if so, how would I prepare? And are there any practice ones?
Yeah, so depending on what course you go into, there will be, you know, interviews. So for example, our teaching course, we do interviews because it's quite competitive. We also do interviews for our medicine and dentistry courses. Depending on how to prepare for them, what I'd suggest doing is obviously having a hard copy of your UCAS application and personal statement, going through those. and kind of, going back over what you submitted to the university initially. For my course, I didn't have an interview. I had a very informal chat, and it was just to kind of see, how you wanted to study the subject. It wasn't, for my course anyway, it wasn't, if you didn't say the right thing, you weren't given a place on the course. It was just to kind of get to know me as an individual. So some courses will do that as a kind of more informal thing, just to kind of chat and say hello, whereas some will kind of do it obviously as part of the process. So like medicine and dentistry, because it's quite a competitive course, they'll look at your interview, they'll look at your UCAT, and they'll look at your results, and they'll base it kind of off of those three things and decide how to do how to give out the places. But definitely do some practice. I'm sure your schools and colleges will have their own kind of support systems in place, so you can do mock interviews with your tutors or your teachers. But have a look at your UCAS application and personal statement, and just kind of read up on what the course is about. So, go along with a question. You can say, oh, I saw that you guys offer this module. I had a couple of questions about, how many students, for example, tend to take this module. So have a couple of questions of your own as well.
Brilliant. Super helpful. Thank you. Right then. Warren says, what do you think makes Plymouth different to other unis?
So obviously Plymouth has the kind of, campus element, but also based in the city centre. But what's really nice about Plymouth as well is that we're surrounded by nature. So if you look at a map of the city, you can see that we've got our campus kind of situated quite nicely in the city centre, but about 10-minute walk away, you've got the seafront, you've got the Barbican, which is like our iconic kind of historical side of the city. There's a lot of really kind of, fancy boutiques and restaurants. We've also got the Plymouth Gin Distillery down there. We've got the Plymouth Hoe, which is this really iconic landmark. You've got Smeaton's Tower. Quite often in the summer, students will go and have picnics, bring their speakers out, just sit and watch the world go by. You've got, like I say, the pretty much open ocean on our doorstep. We've also got Dartmoor National Park, about 20 minutes inland. So if you want to go and, have a walk around in a bit more of a kind of greener environment, then that's also pretty much on our doorstep. So in terms of the kind of location, I'd say that's pretty unique, because it's not, every university that's, got the best of both worlds, and being, near the sea and near, the city as well. But also the facilities that we have. So for example, if you're a marine student, you've got access to a number of our research vessels. So some of our students can become qualified skippers on one of our yachts. We've also got I think it's the largest wave testing facility in the UK that students have access to. So again, that kind of links back to the facilities, but each university, like I said, will have their own kind of unique selling points.
Wonderful. Interesting question. Ollie says, do you have a checklist of everything I should take with me to uni, and what I should buy when I get there?
Yeah, so when you go to university, quite often, especially if you're going into halls of residence, your halls will send you kind of like a checklist and a like welcome pack. So they'll say, do you want to bring your own bedding, or would you like to purchase a bedding pack from us? These are the kind of things that your kitchen has. So for example, in my third year accommodation, they were like, well, all the hobs are induction hobs. So if you bring in pots and pans, make sure that they're, usable for induction hobs. A lot of kind of students will tend to find their flatmates beforehand as well. So sometimes, like when I found my flatmates for my third year accommodation, we kind of had a bit of a negotiation about who was going to bring what. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll bring, a spice rack, for example, or, I'm going to bring this and that. You'll all have kind of your own space in the kitchen and bits like that. But essentially, if you kind of get to uni and you find, okay, I shouldn't have brought this, then you can easily, bring it back home, or you can send it back with your parents or guardians when they drop you. Or you can, quite a lot of the time, there's IKEAs nearby, there's Primark Home. I know when I was at Reading, they did like free trips to IKEA. So they took a bunch of students off to IKEA on one of the minibuses, and basically got, a bit of a shop for students who maybe had missed a couple of bits or wanted to get their gear when they were there, basically. But you'll be kind of sent a list of kind of the things that you can bring along, but don't bring everything, because chances are you won't use half the stuff that you bring with you at uni. And then when it comes to moving out at the end of the year, it'll be a massive kind of number of trips scenario. So you definitely get sent a list, but don't bring kind of unnecessary things.
That's good advice. Thank you. There was a question about the open days. So Fern said, will the open days show the sports centres?
Yeah, so there'll be tours all around campus. There'll be tours into the accommodation. If you want to have a look at the sports facilities, you can go and have a look at those. You can see, the societies that are on offer in, the Students' Union. So there will be opportunities for you to be able to see those facilities. Some facilities, so for example, obviously if you're doing hockey, we don't have a hockey pitch on campus, but they'll be like, oh, okay, the hockey pitches that we use are, like a 10-minute walk from campus. We can point you in the direction. So if you want to go and have a look, you can do. But you'll be able to see pretty much all the facilities, yeah.
Wonderful. And Sophie asked, how far is the accommodation from the uni classrooms, library and gym?
So with Plymouth, we have a number of student accommodations on campus. So we've got 2 university halls on campus. So that's Francis Drake and Mary Newman Hall. And obviously those are on campus, so they are a little bit higher in price range. But then just across the road, we have our student village. So that is, again, literally about 2 or 3 minute walk from campus. And we've got a number of our other halls there. So we've got Pilgrim, Radnor, Robbins. Can't remember what the other one's called. But we have, a variety of kind of close proximity to campus. If you find yourself, in the halls off campus, for Plymouth in particular, it's still quite easy to kind of roll out of bed before your 9 a.m. and go, over to campus. Like I said, it's literally just across the road. Again, this will vary depending on universities. So for example, at Reading, we had a lot of university accommodation on campus, but we did have a few that were off campus and a little bit further away. So it's more like a 10-minute walk. Some universities will have their accommodation about a 30-minute walk away. So University of Birmingham, their campus and their accommodation is kind of a bit further out. So you might have to get a bus from your accommodation to campus, for example. So it will tend to vary, but with regards to Plymouth, we're all quite close and compact.
Brilliant. Right then, so there's actually still about 15 questions to go by, so we are going to run over. Are you okay for time?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So just a note to everybody here, if you've got to go on the hour, I do apologise for running over, but you've had so many questions. It's been so hard to get through them all. So what? Just a reminder is that the recording will be sent to you, so all the answers will be there. But I think if I'll just start off with a new section of kind of like quick fire questions.
Yeah.
How long do specialist degree take to complete?
Again, tends to vary on the type of degree that it is. So for example, our teaching degree is 3 years, pretty much like, your classic degree. But for example, if you're looking to do medicine or dentistry, those are both 5-year degrees because you've got a lot more kind of content and clinical placements and things to get through. So depending on the course and what specialism you want to go in will kind of depend on how long they take. But you can expect, so for example, psychology, if you want to go into psychology, quite often students will do a placement year. So again, instead of it being 3 years, it'll be 4. So it just really depends.
Wonderful. Ollie said, when should I apply to uni?
So that depends on what subjects you're looking to do. So if you're looking to apply to Oxford, Cambridge, or if you're looking to do medicine, dentistry, or veterinary sciences, then your UCAS application deadline is October the 15th. And that's regardless of what day it falls on. It will always be October the 15th. And then for any other university course, it's January the 25th. So that's for any other university course that's not medicine, dentistry, veterinary science, or Oxford and Cambridge. You can submit applications after that deadline, but universities don't have to look at your application. And depending on the university, you can again email their admissions team to find out this information. But some universities will offer places on a first come, first served basis, whereas some will wait for the deadlines to pass and then allocate so that everyone's got a fair shot of getting a place. So it, again, tends to vary.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, no, that's helpful. That's good to know. It's a starting point at the least. Just a question about, well, a couple of questions about accommodation again. Is there a video that gives a virtual tour of accommodation, and does it also have Wi-Fi?
Yeah, so a lot of universities will use not platform, it's like a network called EduRoam. So if you say, so when I was at Reading, EduRoam was the university Wi-Fi that we had. And if I were to say go to visit my friend at Cardiff, my Wi-Fi would automatically connect to their Wi-Fi because it was EduRoam. It's like the joint university network. So that's all included in your kind of accommodation. It's also free on campus as well, so you just sign in with your university details. In terms of accommodation, virtual tours, so if you go onto our website and type in University of Plymouth virtual tour, it will kind of give you a 360 view, and you can click on some of our accommodation and get a look through there. Like I said, some students will have filmed accommodation tours of their own rooms and how they've decorated them and put them on YouTube. I did that in my third year of halls because the accommodation that I went into in my final year was specifically for leavers and returners. So there weren't many kind of videos or kind of photos of it. So I put a video up on YouTube, which is still up there, so that people looking to kind of go into that accommodation specifically had an idea of what to expect when they got there, because sometimes they weren't always open because they were returners' halls. So again, have a look at YouTube, have a look at the websites.
I've actually just put the link in. I've just found it on Google, so that's in the chat now. So that's there for anybody. Paige said, are there lots of part-time jobs in Plymouth? And what are most of them in? She also goes on to say, I have my lifeguard qualification and would love to do that in Plymouth around my studies. Would that be a possibility?
Yeah, of course. So when you go to university, you can get part-time jobs through the university itself. So you can do, say, for example, student ambassadoring. You can also do, what's it called? Like catering outlets. So if you wanted to work in one of the cafes on campus or one of the student bars, you can apply through the university job sites. A lot of people as well can get jobs in town. So say, for example, if you work at a bigger chain such as Asda's or Sainsbury's, you can have a chat about, you know, speaking to your manager and getting transferred to the kind of branch that's in your university city or town. In terms of lifeguarding, we do have obviously a number of facilities. So we've got the Life Centre that I talked about. We've also got the Lido, which is pretty much on the kind of cliff, like out in the sea. So if you wanted to do lifeguarding, there'll definitely be opportunities. Some students in Freshers Week will just print off a few copies of their CVs and just take them into loads of shops and restaurants and just hand them out. One of my friends did that and ended up working at Pandora for the time that she was at uni. So there's definitely opportunities for you to get involved, yeah.
Brilliant. And there was a question around whether the university helps people get part-time jobs.
Yeah, so if you are, you know, wanting to get a bit of extra help with applying to part-time jobs, you can obviously go through the careers team. Something that is worth mentioning is obviously when you are at university, they recommend that you do around 20 hours a week maximum for a part-time job, because obviously you're there for your studies primarily. So, you know, you don't want to make sure that, you know, the job kind of takes priority over your degree, because that's not ideal. But yeah, you can go to the career service, you can get them to have a look over your CV and kind of touch it up for you. If you've got any interviews coming up, you can, you know, go along and say, oh, I've got an interview this weekend at, you know, a restaurant. Would you be able to go through like some techniques with me that I can go into the interview prepared with? So there's a few different opportunities that they can help out with for sure.
Wonderful. In terms of the courses now, there was a question around, can I choose my own modules at Plymouth, or do you pick them for the students? So
quite often you will have core modules. So those are modules that are compulsory as part of your course and your learning. And then beyond your core modules, you'll have a number of credits left over for optional modules. Depending again on the degree that you choose will depend on how much flexibility you have. So say, for example, if you were doing like a joint honours, your first year tends to be quite structured, and then from your second and third year onwards, you've got loads more flexibility to pick and choose optional modules. But then also you've got some courses like English, for example, where you've got a lot more flexibility to kind of pick and choose modules from your kind of first year onwards. So again, it will tend to vary on what course you're doing, but you do have, you know, a certain number of credits. And as you go through your degree as well, the core modules that you have, there'll be less and less of them. So you've got more and more choice as you proceed through your degree.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. We're coming to the end of the questions. I've about 5 more to go. So thank you everybody for still, you know, being here and contributing. It's been such a good session. Thank you. Marnie says, and this is in your opinion, is the coursework easier than sitting exams?
I think for me, I tend to do better at coursework, but for me, I found it was nice in my first and second year to have a bit of a variety. I also didn't have much choice in my first and second years to pick modules that didn't have kind of exam elements to them. So that flexibility came to me in my final year of study. Again, it will vary depending on what course you do, but I think you have to kind of look at what your strengths lie in and, you know, what you think will be best for you. But quite often, if you kind of pick a module quite early on, if you find that it's not right for you, you can kind of switch modules. So in my first year, I thought I'd give ancient Greek a go, and I got on absolutely horrendously. So within, I think, my second, maybe third week of university, I managed to swap modules onto a different module. So you can kind of switch quite early on if you realise actually it's not for me. But typically just kind of think about where your strengths lie. If you want a bit of a variety, obviously have, you know, a bit of both. But yeah, definitely play to where your strengths lie.
Brilliant, thank you. Sam said, do you have any stats for student satisfaction and employability?
Yes, so I think off the top of my head, I think it's something like 85% or 90% of students are in employability within like a year of graduating from us. And then in terms of student satisfaction, you can find that all out through Google. So if you type in, you know, University of Plymouth student satisfaction, I'll see if I can find it now actually. It will give you all the information. So basically, students in their final year of study will fill out a questionnaire which basically gives their kind of overall like experience. So that's kind of how they do it. So I think with our overall ranking for Plymouth, let's see. So in terms of student satisfaction, I just found it. Where is it? Yeah. I think we had. Where is it? I think out of, I'm not sure, out of I think 130, we're ranked 30th in terms of student satisfaction. So quite high. Yeah, I think we got this year a score of 4.09, so 82% students satisfaction, which is quite good.
Okay. Yeah, brilliant. And that's all available. You've just literally Googled that, haven't you? So it's very, very much accessible. Right. Mabel said, do you offer scholarships, grants or bursaries for students who get good school or college grades? If so, what do I need to have achieved?
Yeah, sure. I'm just going to quickly pop and get my charger because my laptop's just popped up with the little red bar. So
okay.
back in a brief second and then I'll answer that question. Sorry.
No worries. So just a note to say thanks everybody who's contributed to the chat and to the session. We'll just have another 5 minutes of the last 2 questions and then we'll be wrapping the session up. Hi, Charlotte. should do a little group chat, shouldn't we? Oh, she's back.
Okay, I'm back. So what's the question again, sorry?
So the question was, do you offer scholarships, grants or bursaries for students who get good school or college grades? If so, what would have need to have achieved?
So yeah, we definitely offer college and bursaries and scholarships. So you can find those out just by going into our website and typing in scholarships, bursaries. We've got a few different ones, and I think some of them obviously dependent on performance, some of them not so much. I think one of our students who does marine biology, she in her second year, she got sent a letter basically saying, because you're a girl in STEM, doing a science subject, we're going to send you £300. So sometimes they just do things like that. If you're doing a subject such as nursing, midwifery, you can get some things called the NHS Learning Support Fund. And essentially what that is it's free pots of money that you get from the government to help kind of fund your studies, any placements, accommodation, etc. You can get up to £5,000 each year you study, and you don't have to pay it back either. So there's a few kind of in place for courses, but you can find out online as well. There is a website that kind of compares all the different scholarships and programs that different universities own and offer. So I'll see if I can find the website for you.
I just put in the link to the Plymouth page. So I've just found that for the scholarships, bursaries and funding.
Perfect. So it's basically called the Top Universities website, and they've got an article on the different universities and different scholarships that they have. So some of them are specifically for international students. Some of them have, for, say, for example, French students. We've got UK specific ones. So I'll copy and paste this link in the chat for you guys.
Perfect.
Yeah, so if you have a look at this website, it will be able to give you a bit more of a detailed breakdown of the different kind of scholarships. So, for example, just looking at it now, it's got the University of Birmingham International Scholarship. We've got the Swansea University Undergraduate Scholarship as well. So there's a few different ones. We've got UCL, University of Westminster. There's a few other websites as well that will give that information. So this one here, I'll pop another one in the chat for you guys. It's the Complete University Guide. They've also got a kind of compare, and contrast. So you can have a look at the different scholarships that different universities own and offer for you guys.
Wonderful. That's very, very, very helpful. Thank you. And our final question for the session, Matt says, can I go to your university if I've done a BTEC apprenticeship or maybe a T-level? I'm thinking of what to do next and I would like to go to your university afterwards.
Well, that's fantastic that you want to come to us. Really lovely to hear when students are like, we want to come to your uni. So that's really lovely to hear. So thank you for sharing that with us. In terms of BTECs and T-levels, we definitely do accept them. Obviously, it's based on the UCAS points for us primarily. So a lot of universities will kind of still, say, oh, we want, distinction, merit, or, we want a level 3, for example, in, health and social care for this subject. So a few kind of different entry requirements. But what I would suggest doing is with the T levels, I'm not 100% sure what our kind of entry requirements are for those, because I know they've come out quite recently. But what I would suggest doing is dropping our admissions team an email. So I'm just getting their email now for you. Yeah.
We can also put the email in the follow-up email that everybody will receive who's registered to this event as well. So everyone will have access to it. If you miss it on the chat now for whatever reason, it'll be emailed to you.
Yeah, fantastic. So if you want to drop them an email, they'll be able to tell you about the options that you have available. We also offer degree apprenticeships as well. So we've got degree apprenticeships in a variety of subject areas. So, for example, engineering is one of our kind of big ones. We've got one in nursing, we've got one in podiatry, we've got one in robotics and technology, civil engineering, project managers, chartered town planners. We've got radiography as well. So if you wanted to go down the degree apprenticeship route, a lot of universities do offer them. They just don't do a very good job at letting students know that they do offer them. So if you are interested in doing a degree apprenticeship, so working and studying and getting a bit of a salary as well, then just go on to the university you're interested in, type in degree apprenticeships, and there should be a section on their website that gives you a bit more information. But if you're unsure and you want to come to Plymouth, fantastic. Just drop our admissions team an email and they'll be able to point you in the right direction and say, okay, this is what we're looking for this particular course. And they'll be able to answer any other questions that you have as well.
Wonderful. And that brings us beautifully to the end of the session. So thank you everybody that's attended and asked so many wonderful questions within the chat, and hopefully you've had them answered and you feel happy and confident in everything that we've spoken about today. Like I said, everything will be sent to you post the event as well, so you can use this as a reference, and we'll have the information in there to find out more, like this email address and some of the URLs as well. Thank you to you for putting on such a great session. It's so comprehensive, so interesting, and I don't think I think you've covered absolutely everything. Oh, Matt says thank you. Hopefully see you at Plymouth.
Yes, definitely. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Right, the next session of the day is at 12 o'clock, if my memory serves me right. So hopefully we'll see you then. Everybody, thank you. I'll say my goodbyes now, and yeah, see you soon.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.